Okay, so I'm gonna record this, and Kodak has a lot of people at the Grammys, no matter if it's the Grammys or BET Awards. A lot of people are very angry, especially at awards. They feel like they were rigged, and it's a weird thing. Like, if you look at the rap industry, you probably will feel a certain way about certain albums winning or certain songs winning. And Kanye, not Kanye, and Kodak Black is no different. I think, and when I say it's happened before, it's happened with Eminem, it's happened with J. Cole, it's happened with Kendrick. Like, they've all felt like they were snubbed out of an award that they should have won. And the BET Awards, the two awards that people have had controversy over, I can understand it. I think I can understand these two awards that people do find contradictory to the actual award, right? And so I'm going to try to talk about it and try to not step on toes when I talk about it. But we're going to talk about Latto winning, her song Big Energy winning the most impactful song of the year, and versus Kodak's Gremlin. And then we're going to talk about the biggest hip-hop platform, right? And I'm going to look more at them all because I think they all bring something different, right? But we'll get into that real quick. Let's see if we have any responses. Okay, so Kodak versus Latto. Kodak has just made a lot of tweets saying that he doesn't think her song did as much of an impact on the song of the summer, which one could argue. I think YouTube video wise, if they're going off of YouTube, or because I know sometimes BET does like votes, but I don't think they did votes this year. So Kodak calls out Carlos Orlando. He oversees some of the BET Awards, right? He said he was calling because or tweeting because he felt like he should have won that award over Latto. And this is the thing. And this will be the thing for both of these kind of awards that I'm going to talk about. When the industry is pushing you, you get a lot more. Like, you might not see it in streams, you might not see it on YouTube, right? But every time the radio plays your song, that's somebody either looking for it or that's somebody that's going to put onto a new song. That's how we found a lot of newer artists, especially in the early 2000s, like 2009, 2010. That's how you found new artists. You was listening to the radio. So I get it. And that's the thing. Kodak's Gremlin song, it came naturally. Like, if the listener was looking for a Kodak song and they found the Gremlin song that he released, it was gradually put in people's ears. It was gradually added to that list. It was gradually spread around by people, naturally, word of mouth, right? Latto's song, however, if you turn on the radio, I'll give him a reasonable number. 2 out of 10 times, it's probably a Latto song playing or a Cardi B song playing, right? That also means you have to divide up how many people are in the world and just not the U.S., which I think a lot of hip-hop fans do not understand, especially in the States. Hip-hop is not just in the United States. There's UK hip-hop, there's pop, there's pop in France. I'm just saying there's different genres to rap, and there's definitely other songs that will play. Now, if you ask me which song was bigger probably in the United States, I'm still probably going to have to go with Big Energy. Only because I've heard a lot of women and some guys play Big Energy because they heard it on the radio early and everything. Hey, I was looking for the song, I found it, I'm going to play it. Gremlin wasn't played as much, especially if you're not in the South. That's kind of my thing. Kodak is played if you're in if you're in a major state in the United States. If you're in Florida, you'll hear Kodak. If you're in New York, you'll hear Kodak. You'll hear Jay-Z. You got your people that you hear. California, you might hear some Kodak. But in these states like Virginia, you might not hear as much Kodak, and they depend on Wayne or Trey Songz, or Pleasure P, like a Little Wayne, Rick Ross, Wale, Pharrell. They got a lot. Pusha T. We got a lot. They in Virginia, there's a lot of artists, but there are also a lot of producers that made Virginia, right? But overall, if you ask me why it's a weird thing. Like if the industry wants to push a song, that song is gonna get played, especially with platforms too. It's a weird thing to me, right? But it happens. Like Kodak has more Spotify streams, but not everyone streams music. On YouTube, Big Energy Lotto has more views. But they are like a month apart from each other. These songs are a month apart from each other. And so that happens. But Lotto's song was pushed on the radio, on streaming services, on ads. Kodak's really wasn't. It was kind of like word of mouth. And that's why that happened. So we're going to talk about the biggest hip-hop platform. And I think it's a weird thing to me, right? Because there's Wallows and Gilly's $1 million worth of game, right? And people will say they either listen to that or they go to Drink Champs, right? And I think that's happened over time. Society has definitely built that up. There's commercials for it on YouTube. There's commercials for it on Spotify. There's commercials for it everywhere. And don't get me wrong, Nori, Gilly, they were all big parts of names in hip hop, right? Like before they made that podcast, they're big names in hip hop. Allegedly, Gilly wrote one of the Carters. I'm not sure which Wayne album he allegedly wrote, but he wrote one of the Carters. But so, because I've heard this from a lot of people, if you would ask them the three podcasts that they listen for, they platforms or podcasts that they listen for music, it would be $1 million worth of game, Drink Champs, or the Breakfast Club, right? Like if you go hip hop wise, right? If you personally ask me, I'm going Big Boy or Sway, because I grew up watching them, and they've had great performances. Like when Neo did that when he was doing 5 different melodies in that song, and I've done that when Sway did freestyles, right? Like those are what I prefer, right? Like when I listen or do it, or BBC One when they do the freestyles up there. But if I'm listening to the States, I'm going Sway, and I'm going to Sway in the morning, or is it Big Boy's Neighborhood, right? But that's just me, right? And I know I'm the minority in that kind of thing. So it was a tie between Drink Champs and Carissa, which I think is Young Miami. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't know the city girls like that. I don't know their actual names and stuff like that. So they're both on Revolt, right? So they're both on Revolt. They're both on Revolt. And so the issue that people had with it is that it's tied with Drink Champs. But I think it's who she interviewed, right? Like it's very rare, and I'm not no hate towards anybody, right? But it's very rare for Kevin Gates to do an interview. Kevin Gates did an interview, it went viral, right? So even if she had a few episodes, they went viral when they were played, right? So, and Drink Champs, they do good numbers. They do great numbers. That's without a doubt. I don't think that's a terrible thing, right? Like, base numbers off of realistic data. But we do have to think and consider that not everyone listens to what we think is popular or big at that time, which to some degree, I guess that does make a lot of people out of the loop, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people listen to Flex, but they might. They might have moved from Flex to the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee, and DJ Envy. Or they might like Nori when he talks. How? What's one? Is it hot? What is it in LA? It's Hot 100. I think it's Hot 100. Or they might just listen to LA Leakers freestyles, right? Like there, or the Tiny Desk, right? Like the biggest platforms, if you had asked me in any order, would have been, I don't know, Big Boys Radio, the Tiny Desk, $1 Million Worth of Game, Drink Champs, and maybe Carisha Please. Like, what I'm saying is a lot of people aren't gonna watch, even though if you ask guys in hip hop, if you ask the majority of men or guys in hip hop, they'll go $1 Million Worth of Game with Gilly. I think I got it right. Nori with Drink Champs. And then we'll go Joe Budden. Joe Budden, to his extent, is great podcast. You know, they split their ways, I think. I haven't watched that podcast in a while. But, so Drink Champs and Man Else with the Game, they're very similar in what they do. But they're 4 different perspectives. Right? So, but see, Nori is promoting Drink Champs, I think, straight out of their pocket. Right? And I think with them both being on Revolt, they have different budgets. Carisha is on Revolt, but she has episodes that kind of went viral because it was being pushed. I think the Shade Room did it at one point. I think the Shade Room Borough did it. If the people in the state, that's the one for the UK. The Shade Room isn't national, but you get it. Spirit World might have done it. It's just overall, like if you look at the overall numbers, I can see why she's in the top 3 because of who she invited as a guest when she was on the show. The other city girl she added that people want perspective from. Like, I can see why. And I get it. I know a lot of guys are like, I don't listen to female rappers. But for a female that wants to listen to a female rap about something that isn't about something or get a woman's perspective, Carisha Please would be the best show to do it. Right? So I think we have to stop looking at hip-hop as a one-gender kind of sport, but we also have to look at what hip-hop is nationally, not just in the United States. Which, it's hard. I know it's hard for some Americans to look outside of the United States as hip-hop. Yeah, but the UK still has hip-hop. We still got hip-hop. Like, hip-hop hasn't really changed, but you would know. I guess it's a weird thing, right? Like, I get why it happened, but I do feel like I think Carisha Please had pushed by Revolt because Revolt probably gave her a budget. Nori is probably pushing the show strictly by himself, but the City Girls are still big at the time. They're still big now, but it's just who has industry push, who doesn't. And I think that's why these 2 awards are upsetting to a lot of people because they didn't realize how big the industry played a part in musicians releasing music or podcasts. Like, it has a lot to do with who's pushing it. If the industry is pushing it, if they're not. If you're pushing it out of your own pocket, you won't get it so far. If you're pushing it out of an industry or a major label, you'll get far because they want their return. But I digress. So that's just kind of my understanding of the 2 BET Awards, which is the best song. One was the best impact of the song, which Latto won, and Carisha Please the best hip hop platform. But overall, I think it's just who do you prefer to listen to. So